The River Thames runs through the middle of London. It's a good way to see the city. On its banks are many famous places. Na Lee has come to visit her friend Danny. He lives in the city of London. Na Lee lives in Beijing. She can't wait to find how different London is. Danny's Uncle Ted is captain of one of the riverboats. He has given them 2 tickets for a river journey down the Thames. Have they got everything? Don't forget the map and the sandwiches. They will see many important places by the river. Their journey begins at Westminster. The Houses of Parliament is where the government makes new laws. The Prime Minister has a weekly question time on Wednesdays. You may have seen this on television. A government is a group of people who are chosen to make the laws of a country. The laws are rules made by the government. The Houses. Let's find out about 3 Prime Ministers. Winston Churchill was the Prime Minister during the Second World War. Margaret Thatcher was the first woman Prime Minister. Do you know who the Prime Minister is now? Did you know that Big Ben is the name of the bell in the clock tower? Uncle Ted turns the boat around. The journey continues to the London Eye. That must be the biggest wheel I've ever seen, says Na Lee. The London Eye is the world's largest observational wheel. It was built to celebrate the millennium. We celebrate when we want to mark a happy event with a party. A millennium is 1,000 years. We recently celebrated a millennium in the year 2000. The London Eye has 32 glass pods, each carrying 25 people. At the top, you can see 40 kilometers in each direction. I'd love a ride in that, says Na Lee. Okay, you two, shouts Uncle Ted from his steering cabin. Next stop, St. Paul's Cathedral. Na Lee and Danny sail beneath Waterloo Bridge, called the Ladies' Bridge because most of the workers who built it were women. Many builders were women during the war because many of the men were away fighting. Did you know that the rain keeps the bridge clean? I wonder what that big round building is, asks Na Lee. That's St. Paul's Cathedral, says Danny. St. Paul's Cathedral was built by Sir Christopher Wren. The dome is 365 feet high, 1 foot for every day of the year. When St. Paul's was being built, Sir Christopher lived in a house on the other side of the river to watch the building in progress. The Globe Theatre is a working replica of the Elizabethan theatre where Shakespeare showed his plays. A replica of an object is an exact copy of it. A theatre is a building where actors perform plays. The audience was often rude and noisy. Some even tried to trip the actors up. There were no female actors then, so boys had to dress up for the girl parts. Uncle Ted steers the boat under London Bridge. I know a song about London Bridge, says Na Lee.
London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady.
The next bridge is Tower Bridge, which has a drawbridge that opens to let big ships pass through it. Unfortunately, on the first day it was opened, it failed to lift, and a sailing ship crashed right into it. A drawbridge is a bridge that can be opened and closed. In 1977, Tower Bridge was painted red, white and blue to celebrate the Queen's Silver Jubilee. Close to Tower Bridge is the Tower of London. It was built in 1078, nearly 1,000 years ago. The tower has had many uses, including being a fortress, a home to royal families, a prison, and a zoo. Now the tower is the home of the crown jewels, guarded by 36 beefeaters and a raven's master. "Why are you called beefeaters?" asks Danny. "Our real title is yeoman warder. But some people say that in the time of Queen Elizabeth I, we were called beefeaters because we were given a daily ration of meat." A ration is a fixed allowance of something for which there is a shortage. Whereas others say we might have tasted the Queen's food for poison. "Talking of food, isn't it time for our sandwiches?" Na Li asks. "Yes, good idea. They're down on the boat. Come on, Uncle Ted will be waiting." "Hey, get off!" Danny shouts at the birds. "Don't worry," laughs Ted. "They'll be more interested in the fish in the river." "Fish in there?" asks Na Li. "It looks so muddy." It looks that way because of the tides, but the River Thames is the cleanest industrial river in the world. There are 117 different species of fish and wildlife here. People have seen dolphins and grey seals too. Different species of animals means different types of animals. So that's why there are so many birds around here. "Look, there's a cormorant!" exclaims Danny. The boat travels on to Canary Wharf. "Wow, that must be the tallest building I've ever seen!" exclaims Na Li. "That's Canada Tower, the tallest building in England," says Uncle Ted. Canada Tower is so tall that it can sway 35 centimetres in the strongest winds. At Christmas time, the building's owners leave the lights on in the shape of a Christmas tree. The boat travels on to Greenwich. This is the Royal Naval College. Behind here is the National Maritime Museum that has many interesting exhibits, including the tunic that Nelson was wearing when he died. The Royal Observatory is where the meridian line divides the eastern and western hemispheres. Here, you can have each foot in different parts of the world. Every day, at 1 p.m, they raise then drop the red ball on top of the Royal Observatory to tell all the boats on the river it is exactly 1 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. The Cutty Sark was built in 1869 to be the fastest in the annual race to bring home tea from China. "China's where I live," says Na Li. The Cutty Sark is now the world's only surviving tea clipper. As Uncle Ted steers the boat away from Greenwich, Na Li and Danny notice that the river is much wider. Many years ago, the Thames was full of cargo ships arriving from all over the world, says Uncle Ted. Now there are no cargo ships, only pleasure boats and boats carrying away London's waste. Na Li notices something. Lots of the buildings by the river are called a wharf. What does that mean? Wharf comes from an old Anglo-Saxon word called werf, Ted explains, which means bank or shore. The boat moves towards the dome. What a huge circus tent, says Na Li. That's the Millennium Dome, Danny tells her. It's so big that it can be seen on satellite pictures from space. It's 50 meters high, Ted tells them. That's tall enough for Nelson's column to stand up in. It's the last part of their journey now, as Uncle Ted steers them towards the Thames barrier. Why are those walls so green on the sides of the river? Asks Na Li. We call those walls the embankment, and the green is leftover weed where the tide comes in from and goes out to the North Sea. There is a rise and fall of over 8 meters. That's a lot of water, laughs Danny. That's why the Thames barrier was built, to protect London from flooding. The barrier was opened in November 1982 and had to be used only 12 weeks later to save London from flooding. Warnings of high tides are sent from other points on the river. It's the largest movable dam in the world. It is important as the tides are getting higher because of global warming. Sometimes the river goes over the handrails, so a new, higher barrier will have to be built in 20 years. Ted turns the boat around at the barrier. It's time to head back to Westminster. I'm starving, groans Na Li. It's ages since we had our sandwiches. I'll have you back soon, laughs Uncle Ted. We're carried with the tide, so the journey home will be faster. Great, says Danny. Home for fish and chips for tea. The river air has given them an appetite. Na Li and Danny say thanks to Uncle Ted. We've had a super day out in London.